to the Action Campaign's video series explaining the legislative provisions of the Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act of 2023, commonly called the AHCIA. In this video, Jennifer and I will discuss Section 313 of the bill, lowering the bond financing threshold from 50% to 25%. One of the key components of the Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act is a change to what's called the bond financing threshold, commonly called the 50% test. It might sound like a little wonky, but this provision would actually have the most significant impact on increasing the supply of affordable rental housing. So it's really important. For folks who are unfamiliar with the program and the bond financing, could you explain what that means, Jennifer?
No problem. Every year, states receive a capped amount of tax-exempt private activity bond authority, which can be used to finance different state priorities, everything from water and sewer projects to student loans. But most importantly, these bonds can be used to finance affordable multifamily housing. You might ask what this has to do with the housing credit. Well, multifamily bond finance developments are eligible to receive 4% housing credits. And those credits do not come out of the state's housing credit ceiling. Of course, a 4% credit is a lower subsidy than a 9% credit, which means these properties need to maximize the amount of 4% credit authority to be feasible. And to do that, at least a certain percentage of total development costs must be financed with multifamily bonds. Right now, that minimum threshold level is 50% of total costs. The AHCIA would reduce that threshold to 25%, allowing us to basically double production.
Are there other benefits of lowering the bond financing threshold to 25%?
Yes, it's important to remember that unlike the credit, which provides equity to developments, a bond is a debt instrument. The vast majority of housing credit properties cannot support debt repayments if 50% of their financing is debt, because the rents charged to tenants are too low to allow enough cash flow to pay back that much debt. Because of this unnecessarily high threshold, developers usually refinance their properties when they place them in service, paying off the tax-exempt bond debt at that time and replacing it with a lower level of permanent debt that is sized based on the rents the developer expects to charge. There are all sorts of unnecessary transactional costs because of this process. These include higher bond issuance fees than would be charged if the development took on less tax-exempt debt, higher third-party fees for lawyers, accountants, and other professionals, plus other fees associated with the refinancing, like loan origination fees. But there's a reason why this is even more problematic in some states.
Why is that?
A growing number of states are bond cap constrained, meaning that they have more demand for affordable housing than they are able to finance with their existing private activity bond cap authority. These states are forced to provide in excess of this scarce resource to individual projects just to unlock the 4% credits. Whereas if the bond financing threshold were lower, they could spread those resources around to more affordable developments. In effect, the 50% threshold limits states' ability to build and preserve affordable housing, which is why lowering this to 25% would be extremely beneficial.
Has the bond financing threshold always been at 50%?
No. In fact, it was once set at 70%, but Congress lowered it to 50% in 1990. The 50% threshold is really an arbitrary number, whereas we now know that many of these projects are only able to support much lower debt levels over the long term. Lowering the threshold to 25% allows us to right-size the debt amount while still giving states the flexibility to provide higher levels of tax-exempt debt when it's necessary for a development's financing.
Do we know how many affordable homes this provision could help build?
It's estimated that lowering the private activity bond threshold could finance nearly 1.4 million additional affordable homes between 2023 and 2032.
Wow. Thanks for that information, Jennifer. For more of our video series, please visit the Action Campaign's website at www.rentalhousingaction.org.